I almost threw away this painting today when I arrived at the studio and saw how my last watercolor layers faded and blended together and completely lost the transparency that I was going for. But then I decided to at least try and see if I can save it with gouache and colored pencils. In this video, I will show you the process of developing a rather quick portrait study in hope that you can learn something from it. I wanted to try out these new greens that I ordered from my Shinhan PWC watercolor collection that I reviewed for you in my last video, all the links down below as usual. Because I love green in combination with a few warm colors, it really gives my eyes the excitement that they're eager for. And psychologically, green often appears soothing and calming to our brain and reminds us of a beautiful weather, which now during these grey winter times I find even more appealing. You might not have wintry grey weather in your country right now. In fact, let me know what the weather is like where you're from. I'd love to travel a bit, at least in my mind, looking through your comments. About the paints, I expanded the collection looking for more shades of green that they included in that original set. The only greens that I really loved from the set was green, gold and olive green. I was searching for something deeper, darker and more earthy and less tropical looking, and also granulating. I sadly forgot to mention it in the review, but most of these PWCs are smooth colors. However, I got Terra Verde, both light and regular. I hope that I'm pronouncing that right. And those two granulate nicely. Not nearly as much as my Daniel Smith paints though, but those are famous for it. Oh, and I love this dark shadow green color. It has a very high tinting strength, just like olive green does. The Terra Verde does not have that strong tint, but they are very transparent and marked as highly light fast by the manufacturer. I'm currently using my silver black velvet brushes number 8 and 6 for this practice, and also my Hacky brush that looks like it's been through a lot, and it has. I'll be using my Schmincke Horadam gouache in titanium white that's insanely opaque. I also have a Winsor & Newton white gouache in the same color that matches the quality. And this egg holder from IKEA is my designated palette for white gouache, because if you're not too careful and you put it in your watercolor palette, it can really muddy up your colors, and so I keep it separate. One last thing that I added in the end, spoilers alert, are colored pencils. These are my favorite ones and they are by Faber-Castell. They're called Polychromos. Here we have masking fluid. I currently use this one by Sennelier and it's amazing. Masking fluids review and comparison coming up on my channel. So if that's something that you wish to see, make sure to subscribe. This is a brush that I use to apply the masking fluid. Do not apply masking fluid with any of your regular brushes because it's a brush destroyer. Once you are done working, just let the masking fluid dry on your brush and then just rub it off like this. By the way, this brush will never be used for painting again. Let's mask some areas that will represent white flowers decorating the face. Once again, I was inspired by a photo on Pinterest. I have a board where I quickly pin things that spark that joy once I see them and urge me to paint. These are not serious pieces, rather practice A4 sized works, and I want to rekindle the joy of creating since I really felt too rusty and tired from all the entire last year. And I feel this is the proper therapy that I need right now. Not focusing much on anything else but the sheer momentum of painting regularly and painting anything that sparks joy. I pre-wet the face area and start placing colors next to each other, observing the reference and trying to figure out how this will come together as a glowing skin. This photo reference only had soft shadows and transitions on it, and some colors were harder to guess for me, but it's really a fun part of making a portrait. I'm slightly counting on my paper's ability to let me leave the paint if I place it incorrectly or if it ends up too dark at places. And I'm using Canson Moulin de Roi 300 GSM cotton paper. It's time to start painting the background, and I often pre-wet the surface with my hake brush and then start placing colors next to each other, having them bleed around. If you pre-wet the surface, that gives you longer drying time and therefore more time to influence the flow of paints and add or lift them from areas. Also, this part is pure watercolor magic, and that's why I dealt with the skin beforehand so that I can enjoy it. I mentioned this in almost every video, but I really love working wet in wet. I feel it's more for me than for the painting sometimes, and it really calms me down. After the first background layer dried, the background was still transparent enough so that I could apply more paint on top and this time give some definition to her hair. I like painting suggestive hair and not individual hair strings too literally. But I think I might do a hair tutorial or a challenge of some sorts where I would try out and compare different approaches to painting hair, which really sounds like fun. I could learn a lot. But for now, this composition doesn't require more details than a few around the face. I'm also using my brush to quickly paint a few leaves, and this technique relies only on the shape of your brush. Brushes with a sharper tip and a belly that can hold some paint allow you to paint nicely shaped leaves in just one stroke. Add in a few splatters and letting it dry now. How I wish I stopped here. Maybe I would have less work fixing this. Sadly, I didn't, and I wanted to make the background slightly darker, and so I added a third layer. I had to run home from the studio again. I get to paint between 5 and 8 at the evening, but when the clock says 8, I have to put down the brush and go, no matter the stage my process is in. So I left it completely wet on the table and just hoped that it would dry okay. Usually I watch my paintings as they dry, and if I see a mishap happening, I can lift some paint or somehow try to influence the result, but not if I'm not there. Oh well. When I saw it this morning, I thought it's too dark, main areas are covered with too much dark paint. I better start over because this will simply not look balanced. And I have no problem in grabbing my scissors and cutting the painting in pieces to reuse for testing the paints and start a new one, of course. I don't cry too much about it. It's watercolor and it's part of the deal with this medium. And of course, with my learning curve, I have to add. But I thought, let's at least see if there's anything I could tidy up about it. Maybe I can get at least a decent thumbnail for a new painting from it. And so I removed the masking fluid and mixed some light purple colors for the centers of the white flowers. Then grabbed my white gouache to add some highlights to the face and paint a few more white dots and sparkles over the dark parts of the background to break those up a little bit. After the gouache dried, I was already removing the tape because pencils are a dry medium and you can enjoy the process of applying them even after your paintings already show those tidy white edges. I sadly forgot most of the colors at home, but yesterday I picked up at least few reds and browns to use for the touch-ups. So I was patting myself on the back that I did not forget at least those. I used the reds to make some parts of the face pop a little more, mostly the cheek, and then dark sepia polychromos pencil for emphasizing the line work a little at places which added a little more contrast. And then what I really liked is the addition of the light yellow ochre pencil to draw in a few more strands of hair, and that broke up the dark washes even more. Now I'm glad that I had such a tight selection of colors at hand, because knowing my autopilot mode, if I had all my pencils with me, I would have reached for the white. But this really worked in my opinion, and that's without fighting the white of the flowers, and it did not break the main tonal composition of the picture, but it helped me to add subtle details into the shadowy parts of the painting. So in the end, I was okay with the result. It is not 100% clean watercolor painting. Let's call it a mixed media study. But the important thing is that now I have the good feeling of finishing something successful easily and can move on to create something else. Our practice teaches us so much, I feel. No matter if we fail or succeed, we always learn, but the good feeling of having a nice painting in your hands is a strong motivator to continue. And with that, thank you for your attention, and I'm going to paint some more. Bye!